Here we go.
Oh, so.
All right. We are waiting. All right. We are live. I think we are now officially live. All right. Let me see. Let me double check. Hello, everyone out there in Facebook land. I'm just going to double check to make sure you can see us live. Yes, I do see us live. Okay, great. We are here. Hey, Mal. Hey, Anaya. We're going to share this now. Thank you so much for everybody logging in tonight. This is going to be a fun night. We have some great panelists. So I'm very, very excited. So we are live. Yes. And this post is public. Can y'all see it on y'all pages? Just want to make sure. Y'all should be able to see it. You should be able to see. Let's see. Make sure in just another minute, everybody, we are going to get started. All right. I love these Facebook Lives. How's everybody doing today? Y'all doing good? Lovely panelists. Okay, great. We've had some people message me. They see us. Hello, Ashley. Thank you for letting me know. Yes, so excited for everyone to be here tonight. Thank y'all so much for being here. We are live. Oh, hey, Samantha. Thank you for being up here. Yes, lots of friends up here today. So glad everybody's up here joining. We're going to give it about one more minute and let people log on, and then we're going to get started. And I'm going to introduce these awesome panelists to everyone. So, yes, please tune in. We are live. Yes. All right. And I made sure we're public. I made sure this time. I was not going to let that slip. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in tonight. I'm so excited to talk to everyone. It is going to be awesome. Please, if you have comments, feel free to post below. We have some time. We're definitely going to check you out down there in the comments section. So please share. Please make sure you share with your groups. Hop in your different groups and make sure you share with them. I've posted in quite a few, so hopefully they will be able to catch us while we are live. All right, so we are going to get started and go. So tonight, hello everyone. My name is Kimberly Knight. I'm so excited to be here. If you're new to this piece that we've been working on for Black Indians NC, it's called the Conversation Circle. And it's where we do these wonderful talks with people from the community about just their different experiences. And we're talking about things that are all things Native and Afro-Indigenous. So this is some really open dialogue, uncensored conversations that we've been having, that I've been enjoying the dialogue. We've had 3 episodes so far, and you're here for our 4th episode. So if you want to check out the other 3 episodes, head on over to the Lux Blog NC YouTube page. You can check us out there, and then you can see this episode actually tonight. It will be up there loaded tonight after we are done with our live. So again, thank you for joining us on Facebook Live. Please make sure you like and share this video. So we're going to get started. We're talking about our amazing panelists because there's such amazing people up here tonight. And I want to make sure that you guys get to know them and get to learn all the cool things that they have been doing. So first, I'm going to start off with our lady in the room, Miss Amber, who is also known as Melanin Msvkoke on Instagram and Twitter. And I would just like to say I am a fan. I am truly have
I'm
followed,
a fan too, so it's mutual.
followed your work for a very long time, and the opportunity to have you here tonight is just absolutely a dream. So I thank you for being here tonight with us.
Bless. Thank you.
Thank you. So everyone, Miss Starks is an Afro-Indigenous woman of African American and Native American ancestry, activist, aspiring cultural critic and commentator, a student of decolony theory and budding abolitionist. She is an enrolled member of the Msvkoke Creek Nation and is also Shawnee, Yushi, Quapaw, and Cherokee descent. Hello to Cherokee, Eastern Band here. Her passion is the intersection of Black and Native American identity. She seeks to normalize, affirm, and uplift the multidimensional identity in both the Black and Native communities through discourse and advocacy around anti-Blackness, abolishing blood quantum, Black liberation, and Indigenous sovereignty. Her activism encourages Black and Indigenous peoples to prioritize one another and divest from compartmentalizing struggles. She ultimately believes the partnerships between Black and Indigenous peoples and all people of color will aid in the dismantling of anti-Blackness, white supremacy, and settler colonialism globally. In addition to her activism, her passions include her family, traveling, reading, researching her ancestry, reconnecting to her tribe, and learning her ancestral language, beading, and roller skating. Ooh, nice.
I love her.
She earned a Bachelor's of Science in General Science, emphasis in biology and anthropology from the University of Oregon in 2003, and her pronouns are she and her. Everyone, let's welcome Amber. Thank you so much, Msvkoke, for being here. Oh, I'm just so excited.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Yes, thank you so much for being here. So yes, so next up, we're going to introduce Mr. Desmond Ellsworth. Yes, he is from Southampton County, Virginia, the VA. He is an enrolled member of the Nazamon Indian Nation and a descendant of the Saponi, Nottoway, Tuscarora, and Meherrin tribes. He graduated from Norfolk State in 2016 with a computer science degree, HBCU love there. He has always had a passion for his family history and been researching it since his freshman year of high school. Along with having a passion for his family history, he is a contemporary Southeastern basket weaver. He currently lives in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Let's welcome Desmond. Yay! That is so awesome. And I am a fan of your baskets. I have been admiring them from afar. So for y'all out there, please make sure y'all go check out his baskets. They're amazing. So yes. So, and then of course, our other panelist that is joining us tonight, which I'm so excited about, is Chief Eagle Elk Lavelle Pierce Moore. I am just so excited because just getting to know you over this time has been so wonderful. You have given me so much knowledge. I am definitely a major subscriber of your YouTube channel, and I love the work that you have been doing. So I just want to honor you and thank you for the work that you do. Yes. And so
thank you. And I feel the same way towards you.
Thank you. Lavelle Pierce Jr., aka Eagle Elk, was given his name by Tuscarora elder and seer, Ted Silverhand, who said, because of my spiritual vision, lofty message, leadership, and ability to use my body as a complete weapon, that I was given this name. Which I admire your martial art techniques. I'm a former martial artist, so that is something we definitely have in common. And Tasagi, yes, a Cherokee elder woman and seer also told me that I belong to the Bear Clan, who are healers and teachers of nature's medicine. She also said that why I'm drawn to teaching survival, combat, and natural medicine. Chief Lavelle Eagle Elk is an author, massage practitioner, 5th degree black belt. I'm only first, but he's 5th, y'all. 5th degree black belt, fitness trainer, and principal chief of the Shakor Wakan of the Cape Fear Indians. So I am excited because I love your website, and I'm definitely going to be plugging that tonight about people to go check out your social media pages you just launched. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Yes. And for those out there that may not have, this might be your first time checking out my channel for this, but my name is Kimberly Knight. I'm the Black Indians NC Powwow Chair and person that is the founder of these social media platforms for Instagram and Facebook. And we're creating a community of Afro-Indigenous people and allies and people that want to support. So we thank you for being here. I'm also a licensed clinical social worker associate. I'm very happy to provide therapy to people in communities, specifically Native and African American communities are a particular focus for me research-wise, and very happy to be here to share with you guys tonight. So thank you so much for being here. Yes. So we're going to jump right in, guys. We got all the intros out the way. It's 7:41. It's time to get down and dirty into these questions. So, and oh, I love your dog. Look, he's so cute. Mine might pop up, y'all. Mine might pop up here. So what has your personal experience been like in regards to tribal enrollment or tribal engagement as an Afro-Indigenous person? That's sounds very simplistic, but it can be very complex. So I'd like to, at any time, someone is welcome to choose to answer or not answer, but I would love to hear what your personal experience has been like for enrollment or engagement as an Afro-Indigenous person. Who would like to go first?
I'll let the lady go first.
Oh, of course.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So for anybody listening, this is Amber. And I will have to say that, so I grew up knowing that I was Msvkoke. I grew up on the West Coast, and our tribe is located in Oklahoma. My grandmother and my great-grandmother have lived there for a really long time. I mean, my great-grandmother has passed away. So, you know, I always knew who I was in the sense that I knew I was Msvkoke, but I didn't really have connection to our tribe. And my dad, for whatever reason, didn't enroll us when we were younger. Maybe it's just the distance. And, you know, back then in the 80s, there was no internet. The ease of it was probably a challenge. So my dad passed away a couple years ago, and my tribe really stepped in and supported us. Like, I think it was the first time that I really, really felt Msvkoke. It was them showing care for my dad and my family. That and my grandmother, who is 82 and really encouraged me to get to know who I was, like my Msvkoke heritage and my Shawnee and Yuchi heritage. And we're discovering a lot about my Quapaw heritage. So I think after my dad passed, I realized that I didn't want to just say I was Msvkoke. I wanted to be Msvkoke. Like, I wanted to know what that was like. And so I just went to the tribal office and said, like, I need to enroll because it just had meaning for me. And I will say, fortunately, because all of my ancestors since the initial Dawes rolls have enrolled. And so for me, it wasn't that much of a challenge because I had my dad's roll number, which was connected to everybody prior to him. So I think I didn't have a challenge there. And I even enrolled my daughter right away as well. So I'm currently thinking about enrolling in the Quapaw Nation now that I know for sure the whole backstory. I know that might require me to take a DNA test because I don't have family papers due to a lot of family history stuff. So I will say that, like, the challenge for Msvkoke wasn't that different. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be like for dual citizenship. We'll see. And I will say that I did reach out to I reached out to folks who are Msvkoke online because I also thought that was a huge part of becoming or living as a Msvkoke woman, like to create community. And I will say that the Msvkoke family online has been amazing. They have been super accepting of me, and there have been a couple times on chats where I see some anti-Blackness that I think in a lot of ways kind of helped spark, my activism. But I think in a lot of ways, our generation is really wanting to kind of break down these barriers, at least in my experience. And I would say at least with my Msvkoke relatives, I feel like people want to help. I feel like my reconnecting journey has been pretty amazing because relatives are willing to, like, help guide me and teach me the things that I didn't know, and don't expect me to show up fully knowing everything. Like, I've been really blessed. And I know that that's not everyone's experience. So I don't want to at all paint it as like it's an easy process. I still think there's a lot of work that I still have had to do on my own. But I think that was an important part of my own reconnecting journey. Yeah, it's been a really fulfilling thing. And I think, like I said, it started with my tribe really being there for my family and my father when he passed away. So, yeah.
Sorry, I was on mute, guys. I realized that. But thank you for sharing that. Thank you for acknowledging your father, for all the things and all the presence of where the tribe was for him, and condolences to you and your family still for that loss. And I think that's such a different perspective that people need to hear. Sometimes when your very close proximity relative is enrolled, your situation may be a little different. And sometimes it may not be. Sometimes it may be your closely family members are enrolled and you may not have the opportunity to really connect and have that journey of reconnecting with your tribe. So I wish you the best with all of that. And thank you again for being an activist against the anti-Blackness that does happen. So very, very important. Thank you. Anybody else want to share about what is your experience? Yes, Desmond.
Sure. So my experience with enrollment was kind of opposite of hers.
Uh-huh.
So my immediate family on my mother's side is enrolled Hollister Pony.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up, we always went down to Hollister to visit family, all that good stuff. So I grew up knowing I was half Native American. Mm-hmm. My mother, my father, they made sure we knew that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when it actually came down for enrollment, you got a lot of backlash from it because my mother married a Black man. She had children with a Black man. Mm-hmm. And in the older generation, amongst the Hollister Pony community, they don't really like that. Mm-hmm. Lucky enough, in a newer generation, my generation, it's not that bad. A lot of them, they are out there, they're willing to support some of their Black cousins, mm-hmm. but you still have some that sprinkle through that they have that mentality of the older generation. So when I was able to achieve enrollment in Hollow, I did enroll in Desmond. Mm-hmm. And I would like to commend my tribe for breaking the mold of Virginia tribes, where in Virginia, if you was Black, a lot of times you couldn't enroll in your tribe, even if you had immediate family enrolled. Mm-hmm. They would not let you. So I would like to commend the Desmond Nation for doing that, breaking that mold. Mm-hmm. So that's my trial experience. Couldn't get it with my immediate family, but my extended family, they was more than willing to welcome me with open arms, which is a great thing, which is how you should be with enrollment.
And that's awesome you shared it. Thank you for sharing that too, because sometimes the journey can take a curve. Sometimes it might be other tribes that you're connected to in your family that might be more of an opportunity for you to engage and have enrollment and discourse with and be able to communicate with more effectively. So, and that's something that I know sometimes for some, and even for viewers out there that are watching tonight, and feel free to comment below, y'all, that, it's not an easy subject to talk about, but we do have to talk about anti-Blackness in Native communities. And that is a real thing. That is something that personally I've seen and witnessed and experienced. It's things that I've seen other family members and friends witness. So it's something that is, we have to bring attention to it and talk about it, because we cannot move forward unless we do acknowledge that we are all connected in that way. If you have cousins that you consider yourself Native, and you may have Afro-Indigenous cousins, can understand they are still your cousin. They are your family member. They are the same bloodlines that you are claiming and talking about. They are sharing the same thing. So I'm so glad you brought that up. Thank you, Des.
And for engagement purposes,
mm-hmm.
I can talk about that experience. So growing up, I would be on Facebook, talk to the Hollister Pony community. And certain people, they will say anti-Black things, which would discourage you if you was a person who was new to it or didn't have a strong will to continue and live on through your ancestors. Mm-hmm. But I had resilient, and I chose to pursue my Native identity. I didn't let these anti-Black statements discourage me. Right. So that allowed me to interact with other tribes like the Meherrin, which just welcomed me with big open arms, Nottoway welcomed me with big open arms, versus my experience with the Hollow, where a lot of times they didn't want to interact with me. But since some of them found out I know how to do basket weaving, a lot of them will interact with me on a certain level now, mm-hmm. which is kind of discouraging, because it's like, you only interact with me because I have a skill you want, not because I'm your family.
Right.
And when it comes to engagement, tribes need to understand that no matter who this person is, you shouldn't want to engage with them, no matter if they're Black, no matter if they're white, because our white counterparts, they get easily accepted. They mm-hmm. can pop up on the scene and like that, and they automatically get tribal engagement in any tribal community that I have noticed.
That's another real point too. Very, very real point too of how we look at people who are white and indigenous and what their experiences is like. And I've had an opportunity to meet a few white indigenous people here in North Carolina and hearing about their experiences and how it is very different because for Afro-Indigenous, we come into the very strong area of colorism that becomes a major issue of blood quantum, colorism. How can you prove this, and this? Where I've seen personal people I know personally that are white indigenous that did not have to experience that. And then I have seen instances where some have been white presenting and said, yes, I did receive some type of feeling of discrimination or talked about or disrespect in some way. So it's work we got to do. We have work to do in the community.
Go ahead.
Oh yes, come on in, Louis. Come on.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate for a sec here. You know, if you go back to the old days, I'm talking about before the Carolina Wars, before the Indian Wars, we didn't have this colorism thing. A lot of the fights, a lot of the disgruntlement, a lot of the arguments was more over land, you know, hunting. It was over different things. So that colorism thing came in with the introduction to the European invasion. So with them declassifying everyone, you know, and this is, you know, everybody, I think everyone is aware of Walter Plecker. I like to call him Walter Pecker. So, you know, just entertain Walter Pecker. So everybody's pretty familiar with the Racial Integrity Act and changing folks into everyone into Negro. What was that? The Loving case in Virginia. Well, I can understand in the early 1900s as natives are trying to hold on to their identity and not be reclassified. I can understand them wanting to distance themselves from the darker ones who will have a harder time not to be called African, Black, and, you know, just everything other than being an Indian. Because the darker you were, it was harder to be looked at as an Indian. So if you were a little lighter, then, you know, you have halfway of a better chance than the darker ones. So then distancing yourself from the darker ones seems like it becomes necessary for you to be taken serious as an Indian. Then if you fast forward a little bit into the 1950s, I'm sorry, I have grandbabies in there, and you know, they're really noisy. So I'm sitting out in the truck and I have these little lights coming on and off. So I apologize for all the movement. But if you fast forward into the 50s, okay. So if you go into the 60s, the 50s and the 60s, you have, I know down here in the Southeast, in Southeastern North Carolina, you had the Indian schools, and then you had integration starting up. So you had natives of varying complexions, mostly darker ones, who couldn't escape being called a Negro or Black and everything else other than an Indian, actually moving out into those integrated schools because they felt like, well, I can get a better education there because now they offer more because they're integrated. You know, if it's good enough for white people, then of course I want to get a piece of that American pie too. Then you had mill work, you had mills, you know, lumber, all that stuff was huge here. So you had people moving out of the Indian communities and integrating into more Black communities and going into Black schools. So I can understand how the lighter skinned natives today would try to distance themselves from being classified as such, because I think back in you know what, I cannot remember the exact date, but I remember when the reading about it, the representative for the Wakamasuan came here and was telling them exactly, was trying to coach them on what to do to get federal recognition. You know, one of those things was to embrace Christianity and become more like them, to be friendly, distance yourselves from the Black folks, be more like white people. You know, it didn't work for them, but you know, they followed the instructions just like a lot of the other folks down here did, Lumbees and so on. So, you know, just being a little devil's advocate, I can understand back then why they would want to distance themselves. But now we're in the year 2020. Everybody has information from around the globe at your fingertips, right? You can go on a computer and you can reach into the libraries in Europe, in Africa, and in the Middle East and everywhere. There's no excuse to be ignorant today. It's just no excuse. You know, and a lot of people don't like DNA because DNA tells who your cousins are. And they don't want to be your cousins, but you can't unmake me your cousin, just like I can't unmake you my cousin. DNA, just like it can tell who your father is, it's going to tell who you are in relation to me. Might not be able to pinpoint a tribe, which we don't use it for that. We're looking for relatives. I can find my relatives, and I have found a lot of them all over Robeson County and all the way up to Virginia, you know, and I keep that information within my close-knit family groups instead of sharing it abroad, because I know a lot of people don't want that information getting out. So, you know, that was a long, well-rounded, you know, kind of left field explanation. But as far as tribal enrollment, I've never tried to enroll in a state tribe, but I have relatives that did. So their experiences told me that I don't want to go through it because I don't have to, and I have nothing to prove to them. My dad told me the same thing when I was young. He told my sons the same thing. He said, "You're just as much Indian as they are." Even though we didn't live in certain communities, we didn't always go to the powwows, because, you know, who wants to go where eyes are on you and you're made to feel uncomfortable? You know, if I don't have to go to that, then why am I going to subject my children? Why? So he always told us, you're just as much Indian as they are. Now, if I get into lineage, bloodlines, oh wow, I'll make a lot of people mad. So I'm not going to bring that up. Just saying.
Yes, you have a very extensive bloodline that even here for Durham, North Carolina, that comes all the way up here to Durham. So thank you so much. And yes, I greatly appreciate your comments because it is needed. And don't worry about the lights. We understand with the grandbabies being inside.
I would like to add to what he said.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I understand, like, tribal reclassification was done for a purpose. Like, you couldn't own guns if you was classified as Black, which we all know that. But at the same time, though, and it was useful at a certain time when you had to stay separated. But present day, using documentation that which was created based off those rules that some tribes implemented, is still practicing that anti-Blackness that limits enrollment and engagement of tribal members. So we look at like Pamunkey and Chitimacha. Both tribes have laws that forbidded their tribal members from marrying Blacks. And these laws basically disfranchise their descendants. And that's not fair. So you basically cut off complete enrollment and engagement for these people. And then I'm gonna talk about the Powwow community. So my mother, she always growing up, her and my aunt growing up, they always told us, you cannot be these two things. You cannot be Black, brown skin with nappy hair, but you be light skin with nappy hair, or you be brown skin with good hair, but you can't be both. So when the Powwow was reforming in the 60s and stuff, they went around different houses and they requested people like, hey, do you want to enroll in the Powwow club at the time? If you was of a browner complexion, they wouldn't allow you. So you had some families that would split enrollment, or you had some families who was like, no, I'm not enrolling at all because you can't accept my children, then why I'm going to join your club. And that mentality is what kept this anti-Blackness alive in the Powwow community. So the Powwow got state recognition like 66, 65, can't remember exactly. And this anti-Blackness is still going today. And this anti-Blackness is going amongst the Pamunkey. You can't, like, they use a 1900 census that was created off the laws of the anti-Black law they had. That's not fair. You're still practicing anti-Blackness.
Absolutely.
And a lot of tribes are still doing that. They find loopholes. So, like, some tribes, they vote you in. They approve your application. Then they bring you into the tribal community for a meeting. And then the tribal body has to vote on you. So if the tribal body is racist, you're not going to get approved. Then if the tribal body approves you, the council has to vote on you. If the council is racist, you're screwed. So that anti-Blackness is still being practiced and still disfranchising people with enrollment and engagement, which isn't fair. That's all I have.
Yeah. And if we're uplifting anti-Blackness, we're also uplifting white supremacy and settler colonialism. So this idea that like we're trying to protect ourselves from those people who don't like look a certain way is really about protecting white supremacy and the rules that settler colonialism enacted in order for us to get recognition. I mean, I think it's so important as Indigenous peoples that we realize our sovereignty is not rooted in settler colonialism. We are sovereign bodies, whether the settler state exists or not. But when we start to reinforce these rules around like how Black natives can or can't like participate in, you know, in their families, I mean, come on.
Exactly. And it's heartbreaking because like people really don't want to enroll their children in some tribes because they don't want to face the anti-Blackness. Like my mother, she took us to Hollister, but at the same time though, she reminded me of my brother, like, oh, you have some people who may not like you because your dad is Black or you are different skin color. What child wants to hear that? Mm-hmm. So I could end up like my brother. Like my brother, he's not really heavily involved in the Native community like I am because of that statement. He was like, okay, they don't want to accept me, I'm just gonna grow up Black. Which it's hurtful because this person has the documentation, has the ties to the community, everything. But when it boils down to it, you want to look at his skin color and be like, oh, we can't really interact with you. It is just.
Yeah, and then we just see so many issues when it comes to that, when it comes to family members. Some are enrolled in the tribes, some are not. And I'm talking about immediate family members living in the same house. There's some people will hide family members in the house so other family members could be enrolled to receive any type of support or benefits or interaction and engagement. And then that's something also too, we're here in the South. So you're looking at Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, you're looking at all of these states that were affected by slavery. And I'm talking about natives enslaving Blacks and also being enslaved by whites. So you're talking about a lot of history of torn lineage. And it's one of those things, and thank you guys for in the comments. Y'all are blowing up these comments. So I'm going to read just a couple because it's a lot. But I'm going to pick for Samantha Washington. Hollister did not allow Hollowaws to live among the community with Black wives in the 1800s. So my family moved to Enfield, Hedgepeth, Lynch, Richardson, Copeland lines. I might need to talk to you about that Lynch and Richardson. So yes, and Cherokee Rose said, what would it take for change in tribal enrollment and anti-Black?
That question there, it would take for people to accept.
Cherokee Rose.
Take them to accept their family members and stop being colonized. People say they want to decolonize, but how can you decolonize by separating yourself from Christian religion, but you're still practicing colorism?
Right.
That's still being having a colonized mindset, which is unacceptable. Us as natives, you shouldn't look at me and my skin color.
And I think we have to think about kinship pre-contact. Like, how did we determine who our people were? And remember, again, going back to sovereignty, we have the right to decide who and who our people are. And we can choose not to reinforce, colorism, reinforce white supremacy. Like, I think we need to understand how sovereign we are. And I don't think that we say we are decolonizing, but I think a huge part of decolonizing is realizing that we existed before and we will exist after this stuff.
Exactly.
Yes, absolutely. We sure will. Amina said, we got to start going after positions in tribal leadership. Yes, I am all about that for sure. Yes. Very
and also, we should start, if we want to hold our white counterparts accountable for racism, we have to hold these Native nations accountable. So, like prime example, the Pamunkey, they're trying to build a casino in Norfolk. Norfolk is about 75-80% Black. How can you allow this casino that practice basically the same thing KKK does to build a casino in a majority Black neighborhood and profit off this Black neighborhood? That there, we should hold Pamunkey responsible. We should require them to allow their Black counterparts to enroll before we allow them to build a casino in Norfolk or benefit from Norfolk benefits from being Black, because they also try to build one in Richmond, which is another majority Black city. So they don't mind profiting from it, but they don't want to accept their Black families.
And
Which
that
is
right there exactly is a whole major issue. And then I just think about for people that are really trying to enroll or engage with their tribes, just how they go through so much sometimes just to be involved and engaged with tribes. And that's why definitely I saw a suggestion, thanks Mal, about we need some tribal enrollment reps to come up here and answer live questions at some point about this journey, because so many people are having issues registering. Yes, I think that's very true, that we do need to have people coming up here and talking about that and really expressing that for sure.
Can I add that I think for those of us who are enrolled, it's our responsibility, because we are citizens of those nations, to hold our nations accountable, to be speaking up for our relatives. Like, as voting members of our tribe, we can hold our councilmen responsible. And we also, I think it's our responsibility to hold our peers, within our nations accountable, because we're the ones who can help vote and overturn some of these things. Not saying that's an easy process, but I think that we need to hold ourselves accountable once we're enrolled, so that we can make sure that our families, our relatives, have the same access as us. Because when you're on the outside and you're not a voting member, you don't have the same power. So I think those of us enrolled, we have to hold ourselves accountable for how we are allowing our tribe to treat our Black relatives, our white relatives, our whoever, our relatives.
which is funny about that is once some of my family members found out I was enrolled in NASMIT, a lot of them just started flooding my inbox questioning like, yo, how can I enroll in NASMIT? Y'all federal, I want federal benefits. I think that's completely disgraceful, because one, you're not doing it for the culture. You're not doing it to maintain the tribe. You're doing it solely because you want federal benefits. You're doing it solely because you think you're entitled to it. But you could support me with my process of being enrolled. You expect me to support you. I think that's a double-edged sword, because you want me to support you, you want me to embrace you, but you couldn't embrace me in front of your own community, in front of the community.
Yeah.
And I also think
there's a lot of people with a false sense of entitlement. Sorry about that, Kimberly.
No, you go ahead. I got something after you.
Yeah, I was just on the back of what the brother was saying. There's a lot of people that I've noticed with a false sense of entitlement. They feel like you owe them entry into a tribe just because they're Black, or because they're Aboriginal, or all these different titles and all these different things. I think people get really excited about finding out new information, and they become very cocky with their approach. And once you give them information on proper protocol, then they get really bitter and they go out there and they start acting like, not acting right. Not a representation of what we're trying to uphold as Indigenous people. They go out and they act stereotypical, and then they do all of us an injustice, because eyes are on all of us. Eyes on all of us. There's a lot of people. There's a growing awareness. There's a lot of information out there. People are finding out a lot of things. But at the same time, you have that element out there to just take things, and they just want to go after benefits, go after money. They want cards. They feel entitled that you owe them something. And I just want to put it out there, from Rhode Island to Florida, my experiences has been all of us east of the Mississippi are having these issues with rogue people going out and just doing anything and behaving any kind of way and making it harder on good people. Well, I don't want to say good people. I just say making it harder on people trying to do the right thing, like what you all are talking about, what you're doing, and make it harder. They make it harder for people with brown skin, dark skin. They just make it harder. So I just want to put it out there. If they're watching, if you're talking all the time, then you're not listening. Close your lips and listen to people who have been in the culture for a while. I don't know everything, so I listen and I ask questions, And sometimes I ask people questions they don't know. They go and find the answer. But don't go out there and just start making stuff up and acting like a clown, because you're going to do an injustice to everyone. And this injustice right now has turned into a tick for tat. You have people who look like us versus, and I'm gonna say it, versus the people who look like the plains, you know, people out there. People look like us are saying, well, we was here first, and we're not from Africa. People from the plains saying, no, you're African, we were here first. So you have the people look like us calling them Asians, and out there they calling us Africans. And I'm gonna tell you, there's a geneticist. His name is Tyrone Cannon, introduced to me by Dr. Fatu. So Dr. Cannon has spent some time in Australia. He's done a lot of work with DNA studies behind the scenes, not what we normally do with it. So he's dealing with codes and stuff. And he has been able to find out some amazing things with DNA. So pre-Columbian, there was actually there was different phenotypes here pre-Columbian, not just after Columbus, but before Columbus. You know, you find some of this stuff written in Giovanni de Veranzo's letters as well, as he traveled from the Carolinas up the East Coast, and how right here in the Cape Fear, where my folks are from, he described them as looking like Ethiopians. That's a sore spot to a lot of our tribes around here. They don't want to hear that. So now they're coming out with, well, they was rubbing char from burnt wood and stuff and bear's oil on their skin to make them darker. Yeah, you know, some natives did that, but that's not what Giovanni was talking about, because he went on with further descriptions, not just skin. So yeah, he talked about their skin. He also talked about their hair. He said their hair is not too long, tied behind your head like a tail. Now, how many of y'all grew up with grandmama braiding your hair behind your head in a little ponytail? You know, but as he went further up, he was describing people looking lighter. He was talking about a diversity in complexion. He was talking about different eye shapes, different nose and lips and thickness and thinness. So I'm saying this to say, before Columbus, there was not just one look here. These folks in these tribes are holding on to a dream that everybody's supposed to be light, damn near white, with straight hair. And you are turning your back on your family. And I wish that people would form some type of organization to hold them accountable and hit them in their pockets. If you wanted to join the Halawa or Lumbee or Wakama or whoever, and you have the bloodline and you can prove it, and you can trace back to the chiefs or any of the folks there, and they're denying you on some kind of BS, then there should be some type of organization that should go to legislator or whoever in Raleigh and hold them accountable and hit them in their pockets. If they can't do what they're supposed to do, then some of those grants need to become non-existent for them. I mean, when there's a will, there's a way. I'm just putting it out there. Now, let me say one more thing.
Oh, go ahead.
In these tribes, everybody, and I like to say this, and I say the same thing when I'm talking about Cherokee, because they get such a bad rap, because there is some bad folks in there that, you know, are very, very much colorist. But I'm gonna say this about all the tribes. I'm talking about the tribal body, the government, not all the folks who are enrolled in the tribe, because I've met some wonderful people in the tribes who do not like what their tribes are doing, and they feel bad that they're caught up in the middle of that. So if I say Lumbee, I'm not talking about all the Lumbees, everyone who's enrolled. I don't know everyone who's enrolled in the Lumbees, or you know, but I have met a lot of people in the Lumbees who are very nice, and they don't like what their tribe is doing. Now, the tribal body, the government, they have full control over how they act and what they do, who they reject, on what basis. So if they're doing that and practicing those colorist things, they should be held accountable just like any other tribe. And I hope an organization forms that can do that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. And yes,
I'm
I
done.
did hit on many key points on that one. So we can move on to the next. I do have one thing before we move on to the next question, because I know time is moving along. And thank you everybody for commenting down below. One thing I'll say about this is that I think when we're talking about accountability is looking at our current climate, social justice wise. The social worker in me is coming out, y'all. Is that social justice side of where we're seeing the Black Lives Matter movement. We're seeing a lot of different movements take place, and we're seeing tribal communities put notices up like, hey, we stand in solidarity with African Americans, Black Lives Matter, we're supporting this and things like that, because there's a lot of things that have changed and evolved due to these conversations of Black Lives Matter, including cross Indian country. One specific thing is the Redskins football team name. That name right there alone is one of the things that many, many, many groups, activists have been trying to get evolved. And then I'm seeing these statements from tribes where I have heard and known people personally that have experienced anti-Blackness. And now you're seeing these political statements, or as I like to call them, politically correct press releases that come out to show support to African Americans and the Black Lives Matter movement. So Kimberly Knight, in my personal opinion, I have an issue with if your tribal council does not reflect an Afro-Indigenous member on your tribal leadership and your tribal leadership council or advisory council or even committees, then saying you stand in solidarity, but there are people who are Afro-Indigenous that have applied to membership to your tribe and you have not enrolled them and they have all the necessary documentation to be enrolled, that is not standing in solidarity, period. And that's coming from a true passionate social worker that feels that advocacy piece that's not standing in solidarity. I'm standing in solidarity because this is getting a lot of news traction and I want to ride this wave and see how it supports and shows us. That's not what we can do to make change. If you want to make change, you need to be open to your committees and your tribal council reflecting the diversity that you support. If we're not doing that, then we're not standing in solidarity, and that's period. I know a lot of people might feel some type of way about that statement. However, that is my personal opinion. I'm not here representing a group to say that. I'm representing myself saying that if we're going to stand in solidarity, then we truly need to honor those right there in our back door in our community that are waiting on those wait lists and rosters to be enrolled. So yeah, that was my.
Also, people need to realize that during the civil rights movement, a lot of natives march along African Americans to reach their goals.
Absolutely.
So that's all I got to say about it.
Shout out to the Lumbee tribe members that were out there at the protest, even though I know it was a divided nation that day and many people had to deal with that, and it literally hit news channels everywhere showing that. I know that was a hardship, but definitely glad to see that there were many natives out standing, and have been traditionally. We can't forget that for decades that natives and blacks have stood together in solidarity for civil rights. So we have to acknowledge that and thank the ancestors that stood in those lines. And that's why I'm an advocate for you voting, because they stood in those lines to make sure we can have that too. So we have
pre-civil rights movement, Black folks and Native folks were working together. The settler state was afraid of our cooperation. There was a lot of intent, and some of the problems we're talking about right now are rooted in that. The fear of Black folks and Native folks working together is a fear that has existed since enslaved Africans were stolen and brought here, right? The fact that two groups of people could dismantle this whole system. And so I think that we have to acknowledge that is the root of that, and I think the root of this. And if we don't talk about it, we're missing a whole part of our chapter that we've been working together for a really long time. So why stop now?
Right. And I want people to also understand this too, from my personal opinion, is that I can be pro-Black and pro-Native and pro-Afro-Indigenous and not anti-white. That is one thing people need to understand, that I definitely do want people to understand that I can also be very positive about who I am as an individual and not have hatred towards someone else. But we do have to hit these real issues. This one comment from a write-in came in, and it says, do a lot of Powwows enroll as Nazmon? And how do the Nazmon perceive or think about that? So it might be for Desmond right there. will answer, but I know you can't speak for the entire group.
For the whole nation, I can't at all. So
exactly.
I'm not going to touch that question.
Right. I agree.
will say this. The two tribes should work together to a certain extent because we do have a shared connection. Like my family is majority in the Hausa community, but I'm enrolled in Nesman, which shows a great connection there. Yeah, I'm leaving it there. The tribes should work together.
Yeah, I agree. Well, we're gonna move on to the next.
We're doing that actually, so.
So we're gonna move on to the next one. What misconceptions would you like to address when it comes to tribal enrollment or tribal engagement as an Afro-Indigenous person? We kind of hit a little bit on it, but we're gonna give, since we're running with time now, we're gonna give just a little short answers about what are your thoughts on misconceptions you want to address when it comes to the enrollment or engagement for someone Afro-Indigenous.
I guess I'll start. I think that we have to realize there's diversity in enrollment, right?
Yes.
Each tribe is their own nation. They have their own, requirements, whether that's, blood quantum, which we should be talking about that too, or lineal descent or whatever. So I think we have to recognize the sovereignty of each tribe and not assume that every tribe does it the same way. And it's hard to hear specifically that some tribes are using like colorism just as a blanket, like no, and then having to go before one group and then go before another group. That's really concerning and overwhelming to think about. But I think as Afro-Indigenous peoples, if you know who your people are, I want to encourage you to try if it means something to you. But I also think what Chief Lavelle said about, doing something that might cause you harm, like enrolling just to prove, you don't need to prove yourself. As far as like, if you know your family, you know who you come from. I think tribal enrollment is a choice. And if you choose not to, it doesn't mean that you're not of those people, right? Like you're still Afro-Indigenous, you're still of that lineage or those lineages. And so I want you to understand, like you're a sovereign body, and you have choice, and choosing to enroll or not enroll is your choice.
Thank you. Desmond?
I agree with everything she said, but I'm gonna take it a little step further. Enrollment is not an entitlement. You're not entitled to being enrolled in your tribe. So my father descends from the Nottoway. He has I have the paper trail to show that and the DNA to show it. His family has only lived in Southampton County. My father would not enroll Nottoway because he simply says he's African American. His family lives as African American, and that's what he is. So tribal enrollment is not an entitlement. It's a choice, and it's other things to go with. You have to make sure you have those cultural connections, those engagements. I understand engagement is hard sometimes, but you have to persist through it and fight for it to show that I am involved in the community. I'm not just doing this for benefits. I want to be part of the community. I want to help build this community. I want to help ensure we survive. Yeah.
So brilliant. Yes.
Yes. Lavelle, you have a short answer to add to that? Because we're running a little bit out of time. This one was misconceptions would you like to address when it comes to enrollment or engagement as an Afro-Indigenous person? Any misconceptions people may have when it comes to that process? And you have to unmute yourself. Oh, you have to unmute. There you go.
Yeah. I'm sorry, we're under a tornado watch right now. Everything is kind of going everywhere.
Oh,
yeah.
No. I know I heard it raining outside. I'm in Raleigh, guys, so I heard it raining a little bit, but oh my goodness. Well, if you have to go, we completely understand.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You are fine. No, Mother Nature calls and you are fine, but if you get a chance to still watch us while we're going for a little bit more, do so. But thank you so much.
what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna just mute it and take it off camera for a minute, and I'm gonna step out and make sure everything is okay.
Okay,
All right.
thank you. All right. Okay, so as we're going in misconceptions, some misconceptions I've heard people say is that they have to pay very expensive enrollment fees to join. A lot of people hear the misconceptions about, well, if it's not an immediate family member, I don't have an opportunity to join. One thing I would like to educate people on here tonight is to look at your tribe's website or talk to elders in the community or family members that might be enrolled already or have been enrolled, to talk to them and ask them what those requirements look like, because every tribe is different and unique in its own right. So that's how we'll go with that one. And then from the comments, we had, hello, do you know when the Meharin enrollment would open? Just curious. No, I don't know when they will open. That's the question you'd have to ask them to touch base. But thank you for writing in. And then we also had some comments about enrollment does not define you. I agree. It does not define you at all. Oh, did you have something to add, Amber?
I did want to, I think Chief Lavelle was talking about it, talking about this earlier, but the political body is different than, say, the people. And I found that a lot of like my Msvkoke relatives were willing to like invite me to ceremony because they knew I knew my people, I can tell them who I was, and were willing, didn't even ask about enrollment, didn't really care. And then a lot of them, really want to separate, or I shouldn't say a lot. Some of them wanted, the political part of our tribe wasn't as important as the ceremony and the kinship and the community, because for a lot of them, the tribal body still kind of represented the settler state, like a model that the settler state like set up in order to like decide who and who wasn't, who didn't belong. And so I also want to point out that relatives might be willing to help you reconnect respectfully, because I think, as Desmond said, it's a responsibility, right? You don't just come in and decide, this is how I want to be Msvkoke, or this is how I want to be, say whatever, Cherokee. You come to learn. You show up for your community, right? You are learning to be your people, and so you don't have all the answers. You don't always know what it means to be that, and so I think that tribal enrollment, again, it's a choice, but please, I think, know that if you build community even outside of like the political part of it, you might find that like the people in your community might be willing to like support you on your journey towards reconnecting. Yeah,
and then if you're doing different tactics like Ancestry, 23andMe, doing DNA GEDmatch, if you're joining different groups on Facebook, there's a lot of people that are willing to support you in your ancestry journey. I know that I've found at least 20 or 30 new cousins this year alone, everyone. Yes, Desmond's one of them. So every time I do a panel, I find a new cousin. So shout out to Fred, who's my other cousin who was on our first panel. I just keep finding cousins. But on a serious note, yes, everyone, I do think it's very important that you look into your family lineage, your history, and knowledge of self, and self-determination is definitely important. And also, I'm a big advocate for get the census done too, because we can now classify ourselves and self-identify, so that is so important, because one day someone's going to be researching you and be looking back at your records to find out connections to you. So we have to acknowledge that we have an opportunity to do something that our ancestors did not. Our ancestors, census takers, would just walk up and classify you how they felt they want to. So yeah, go ahead.
I'm looking at the comments too. I see this one comment that I feel is important, is about an unenrolled African Indigenous person wants to participate in a travel at a powwow. Is that wear a ribbon skirt? To me, I'm pretty sure to other people it's not offensive. But if you're going to wear regalia to a certain extent, ensure that you wear regalia that's appropriate for natives and appropriate for that culture group. Such as, I'm an Algonquin. I'm enrolled in Algonquin tribe, but I have Iroquois ancestors. So I may wear Gastoa, but I'm be a little reluctant because of the fact that I'm not representing Iroquois people, I'm representing Algonquin people. So if you do that, just make sure you're representing people appropriate. Don't go out there and misappropriate people wearing costumes from Halloween. That's a big pet peeve within Native communities. I don't care if you're Black, white, Native, whatever. It's a big pet peeve. Do not come out there disrespecting anybody. Come out there educated, willing to dress appropriate. That's it.
Yes, and that's a good thing because in November I will be doing a special about regalias. So that's kind of like a little sneak peek there that I will be talking about that. So please stay tuned for that in November. We will be talking about beadwork and regalias and basket weaving. So you know I can probably pull Desmond back in a little bit, maybe. We'll see. But we'll be talking about those things in November. And it is very important that when you are out at an intertribal powwow or you're getting ready to be involved into a powwow event that you're going to, please be mindful of what the type of regalia you wear, because like Desmond said, make sure you're representing the tribe that you want to make sure you're affiliated with and representing, because a lot of times I've seen people show up to powwow wearing other people's tribal like designs, colors, beadwork and things like that, and it's not an affiliation or association to them personally for their tribe. So it's something that you got to research. This all takes research to look into it. And the good thing is there's a lot of positive research, but be mindful of some of the negative research that is out there that's not very informative. So, and then purchase from Afro-Indigenous and Native people. Think about the people you're purchasing from. Don't just order online on Amazon and find something that like, oh, there it is, it's cheap, I'm gonna order it. No, you need to be supporting vendors that are actual people that know exactly what to do in making these special garments. So yes, these are very sacred. So yeah, so Lavelle had to go, everyone. He wanted me to apologize on his behalf. He had some power outage due to a tornado watch there under. So he's down in the Cape Fear area. So if you're from North Carolina, Wilmington, down that way. So please be safe, people in the Sandhills. Be safe if you're watching. He did say he did experience some power outage. So we're definitely going to close out in just a few. And our last question is, what advice would you share for someone who is Afro-Indigenous seeking to engage or enroll with a tribe their family is connected to? We've already kind of hit on that a little bit, but we can dialogue. We can go a little bit more or the comments. Yeah.
So I'm gonna read the comment my cousin literally just sent me.
All right, let's hear it.
He was like, if people really want to connect with a tribe, then enrollment shouldn't stop you either. If enrollment is temporarily closed, it doesn't stop you from connecting, which is very true. So, say for instance like this, I hosted a ribbon dressmaking class for the tribe. I did invite tribal members. I also invited non-tribal members because it's in fact is building that community.
Right.
So don't let enrollment stop you. Don't never do that. Always go out there, participate, and you get a little resistance. You just you dig deep into yourself. You remember what your ancestors had to go through. I come from two strong groups. My ancestors were slaves, stolen, murder, all that good stuff, all that bad stuff. Let me not say good stuff.
Right.
So I have to be resistant against people who want to keep me out. I have to keep pushing. I have to educate them that, hey, I'm here. I'm a brown native. My father is African American. You're going to accept me either way. So go out there, engage with tribe. Don't let enrollment stop you.
Yes, I agree. I definitely think you should engage, participate, educate yourself, and support other tribes. Also support other tribes too, because they are out there. There are other tribes you can learn about, support, and that you may be different lineage too. Like in my family, my father's side is Eastern Band Cherokee, but then I'm starting to learn on my mother's side of the family, doing research, Hallawasaponi, Lumbee, then found out Tuscarora, Nasmon, just all these different lineages of different tribes and educating myself on how each tribes are. Now for me, because I've been on the powwow circuit a long time, I'm not gonna give my age, but a long time, almost 30 plus years, well, over 30 plus years. So I've been going to powwows and going to the reses and going to tribal communities, seeing family, friends, what have you. So I've been able to be a part. I've been a member of a Native sorority. So I've been engrossed into the culture a very long time, my whole life, literally. But this is new for me for learning about the tribes of my mother's family, her paternal side. So that's a new adventure. That's learning about that, because I can't say just because I know my dad's Cherokee side that, oh, everybody over here is going to be doing the same thing. No, absolutely not. Every tribe is individually different. So please make sure you understand that. So please make sure. Yeah.
So recently, this is not just a Black Native thing. This is not a white Native thing. This is something that I've seen from both groups. They literally said that they will not come to our powwow because the enrollment closed. you will not be involved in your community simply because enrollment is closed. You're trying to enroll for the wrong reasons.
Right.
You're trying to enroll because you think you are entitled to it, not
Mhm.
because you want to uplift the culture.
Right.
Yeah. So don't protest your group or the tribe that you come from simply because you can't be enrolled. Still go out there and enroll. Still go out there and participate. Show them that you are part of the community.
Yes, and I have a comment from one of my cousins. So it is, her name's Nakisha. Is it appropriate to attend events just because you want to learn and understand? Is it offensive to attend powwows if you're unaffiliated with the tribe? Well, cousin, I got something coming your way for Christmas, but I ain't gonna tell you what it is yet. I'm working on a very special project about that side of the family, but yes, they are welcome. It is open to the public community events. Many powwows you can go to and learn a lot of information. I can send you some info. Just give me your email and I'll make sure I give you some information. But I actually have some very distinct information to share with you and the rest of the side of that family. You're that side of the family I was just talking about. So I'm very happy to share that with you. So yeah.
Can I say that, again, around enrollment, I think that we have to understand that we're worthy of our lineages, we're worthy of our ancestry, we're worthy of our ceremonies, we're worthy of those things. I think reconnecting is a process for us to learn like what's appropriate. And so I think that I want us to not be afraid to engage. And even if that means like enrollment becomes like this stumbling block, I think it's so important to realize that, we are worthy of who we are, right? And to let anyone take that from us, I want to encourage us not to. And I know that means that it's going to take a lot of work. Sometimes it causes pain, but I just want us to be aware of like, I'm worthy of my ancestors. I'm worthy of, having access to them. And it's a shame that people would want to limit that because of our skin color or the African ancestors we come from as well. So I think that it takes an amount of like bravery and self-determination to say, these are my people, and however I need to connect to them, as long as it's respectful, again, if it's not through, the path of citizenship. Mm-hmm. I think, for me, like even like my Quapaw heritage right now is what I'm like really learning about. I'm so grateful to like the two relatives who have just been helping me, just let me ask questions. Like, I don't know ceremonial stuff yet. I don't know any of the language, but I think I'm telling myself I'm worthy of this. Like, I want, my grandpa Benjamin, I want him to be represented in my life. I want, my grandmother Lila to be represented in my life. Mm-hmm. And I'm not enrolled, but I feel a responsibility to that because, these are my people, right? And so whether I get enrolled or not, I'm going to honor my Quapaw heritage.
Yeah.
I'm not enrolled in Nottoway, but I still participate with Nottoway. I support Nottoway in any shape or form I can. And that's a twofold because my father's family is Nottoway, but also on the flip side, Desmond and Nottoway, they did live together a certain time period, and they both shared the same region to a certain extent. So it's a history reason to it, and it's also a family reason to it. So I agree with you completely. Like, no matter if I'm not going to be enrolled, I'm still going to support that tribe.
Right. Absolutely. I'm all about that too. I supported many, many tribes across North Carolina, Virginia, South Carolina, and Georgia. And so I want people to understand that you can be able to go to powwows, learn the history. Now we have the internet. Now you can learn. A lot of tribes have their own websites. They have Facebook pages, Instagram pages. They are just much out there, just like other organizations and everything else. So it's a way for you to kind of learn some more knowledge. And I know right now with COVID, we're seeing virtual powwows. Support the virtual powwows. They're going on. I know the Maharans is coming up this weekend. So a little plug for them. The Maharans is coming up this weekend. So check them out with, they'll be on Facebook. So it's a way to just support as you can and become knowledgeable about that. And I'm going to give one more last question before we go from an audience member. Can you ask for tribes that have lineal descent, what sites to use to access census records and death certificates? I don't currently have an ancestry, but I have my tree made. So what would be some good sites for them we can leave with them?
Ancestry is typically free. You just can't like really view the documentation. You can build out your family tree.
Right.
You have Family Search.
Family Search.
Then a lot of bloggers go out there and write blogs. So you have like Keonga Lucas. She writes a great blog on Native history. You have Nikki Bash. She does some research. She's a NASMA member too, and she does great research too. So just research your tribe and be like, okay, I want to find out more information.
Yes.
Don't limit yourself like to just ancestry. Expand your search. Read books. All that good stuff.
I did all that, and I shout out to Keonga Lucas and Dolores Williams, because those two ladies literally almost did almost all my family. So on that side, and I literally, as soon as I found them, it was like the gate opened. It was like, woo, there we go. So I greatly want to shout them out, like I did on the genealogy talk we did earlier. Well, everyone,
I agree.
I say one for 5 civilized tribes: Choctaw, Cherokee, Msvkoke. The Oklahoma Historical Society has an amazing website. You can find out if your family was on the Dawes rolls just by putting their name sometimes. So that has helped me so much. And then I also think sites like Find a Grave are really good for like matching names and birth dates and death dates. But I really want to plug the Oklahoma Historical Society because they have so much, which I think you can also connect it with Ancestry. But I think that just like finding actual documents, I found like the actual Dawes rolls with my relative's name and their roll number and their blood quantum. So if you're one of the 5 civilized tribes, that's really helpful.
Yes, it is.
I found it matched also people Ancestry and 23andMe. I the same and forming groups and sharing documentation, sharing your trees with each other. That's very helpful. I have relatives who have thousands of people in their trees, documents attached to them. Military records, birth, on and on and on. So yeah, look up GEDmatch and look and find cousins who are also trying to find ancestry, and don't be afraid to contact them.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm on GEDmatch now, so that's a good point. You might be matching to their kit number. You have to compare your kit numbers to be able to see if you are a relative or connected, and it will give you lots of results to let you know people you're connected to DNA-wise. So, well, thank you so much, everyone. We're going to do our closing remarks, and Lavelle, thanks for coming back. I know you got inclement weather going on. So thank you so much for jumping back in. But any final thoughts that you want to leave, and please share with us any social handles or anything, ways people can support your businesses or get in touch with you if you like. Feel free to share that if you like, and any closing thoughts on what you thought about the talk tonight. And feel free, anyone, to go first.
I'll let Lady go first again.
We're gonna let Amber go first.
You were unmuted, so I was like, okay, well, he's not gonna. I think I just want to tell like Afro-Indigenous folks out there, I see you. You're valid. Your indigeneity is valid. I'm so excited that Afro-Indigenous folks are speaking up for ourselves, that we are creating a climate where we can come out and be brave about who we are, and I think like being okay with existing as both equally is really important. But I also think that seeing one another and speaking to one another and affirming one another is so important. And the work that I'm doing is because like I value like our contribution to indigeneity, to Blackness, to all those things. And I want Afro-Indigenous folks to know that I see you. And I'm really grateful for conversations like this, because it just motivates me to be brave. And it affirms that, I'm not the only person like speaking to these issues within indigeneity. I'm so happy to be in community with anybody who wants to. My handle is @Melanin Msvkoke on Instagram and Twitter, and I'm looking forward to learning from all my relatives from all the tribes across Turtle Island. So thank you for having me. This has been great.
Thank you so much, Desmond. Closing thoughts and any handles you want us to follow you on.
My closing remarks is simply, don't let anyone stop you from being involved in the community. Let's push through. You come from great people. No matter if you're mixed with African American or Caucasian, your ancestors, they did some defining things to get to America. So you should fight through, and you are worth your ancestor and being connected to the tribe. The only thing I really want to say is if you want to participate in social distance powwow, they have a Facebook page called Social Distance Powwow. That's where the Maharan Nation Powwow will be hosted. So join the group, participate, like the videos, all that good stuff. Yeah, that's all I have.
Nice, and I'll be up there, y'all. So Lavelle, you have any closing remarks? Can you hear us?
Yes, ma'am. I can hear you loud and clear. I wanted to give thanks to you and the panelists for allowing me to be among you today. And I want to give a word of encouragement for people on this path to not give up, keep searching. I'm gonna give you the word that my cousin gave me. He's in the 70s, Requiske, and maybe I shouldn't have gave his age, but you know, he's an elder. I think he's proud of it. He told me it's never too late to reclaim your heritage, and it's never too late. Keep searching, plug into those sites, GEDmatch, 23andMe, Ancestry, and any of the other ones out there to help you create a paper trail, because that's very important. And can't nobody refute your bloodline. You are who you are, regardless of how you look, and nothing wrong with it. Look, be proud of whoever makes you who you are. Me. I hope you are proud of you.
What?
And October, you can follow us on Eastern Woodlands, the Eastern Woodlands United, and we're having a harvest gathering. We don't necessarily call out yet. This is our second annual gathering. It's going to be, it's bad, I don't know the exact date. I think it's 10th and 11th, or either 9th and 10th of October. But the flyers are all over there, all over social media. So Eastern Woodlands United, that's one way you can stay plugged into us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. And yes, you can check out that harvest. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to watch virtually and to see all the great things you're going to be doing. So everyone, I'll make sure, I've already posted it in the group. So if you are a person that likes Black Indians NC, you probably already saw it last week, but don't worry, I'll be posting a couple more times so y'all can see it. So I want to thank everyone for joining tonight. We had quite a wonderful and engaging group of audience out here. Shout out to all of y'all for watching tonight. It's been really fun to have this conversation. Sometimes you have to have the hard talk. Sometimes you have to, in reflection points, think about how far things have come and then how much more we still have to do. So there's a responsibility. It was one thing that Amber said that was very well mentioned, is about we have to make sure if we're in these positions, we have to make sure we do hold committees accountable, hold councils accountable. So hold people we know accountable. And if we're going to stand, like I said, in solidarity, we have to truly be ready to engage in that. There was so much wisdom shared here tonight by so many amazing people from various tribes. And that's the main key, is I like showing people so many different facets when it comes to being Afro-Indigenous. It doesn't look just one way. It's not just one type, one hair type, skin color, any of that. Backgrounds. We have people from the West, from the East, from the North. So it gives perspective all around. So one thing I would like to leave with is I would like to say, please make sure you follow Black Indians NC. You can like us here on Facebook and on Instagram. We just started an Instagram page, so definitely go over there and show us some love. And then feel free to engage if more, like on our Black Indians page. I will be posting more for more engagement. We'll be seeing you back in October, where I'll be coming up with some more great topics to talk about for you. And I want to dedicate tonight's episode to my grandparents. These are my maternal grandparents. Some of you may have seen this photo before, and to some that are cousins in the chat, you've seen this photo a million times and knew these people. But this is Noni Wiggins Lucas, and this is Wilbert Bill, as people called him, Bill Lucas. And his Lucas line, his grandmother was Emma Mills. And she married a Lucas. And so that Mills line also goes all the way back to the Evans. I have a few Lynches. So that's where I started seeing a lot of intermarriage with Cordels and Coddles, as some of you are in the chat that have seen. Shout out to Nina, my cousin, who's really awesome. So those two people are people I've been researching for quite some time. I have a cousin on the Wiggins side for her family that's been researching them for a few years. I'm going to get with him to see if I can help with any new updates. But I did find out that her father is from Lumberton. And I actually found that out through GenMatch because a lot of people that are related to him messaged me and said, "Hey, do you know who Cornelius Bud Wiggins is?" And I said, "Yeah, that's my great grandfather." And they're like, "Oh, well, he's like my second cousin twice removed." So then you start getting these engagements going on. So that's another thing too with ancestry. When you start looking into your families, just know with genealogy, there can be things that revisit that could cause trauma. And there are things you're going to revisit are new discoveries. So just kind of take a deep breath and prepare yourself. Take it slow. It may be some things that you see that are not as happy or go lucky as you may think. It may be some areas that are a little bit gray, but even still, it is an honor to your ancestors. And like we said, acknowledge all. I'm just as proud of my African grandmother who's from the Ivory Coast as I am of my grandmother who has Tuscarora heritage. Just as proud of both. Just as happy to express both, learning cultures about both. The Ivory Coast piece I learned as a child. The different teas that I drink, the different herbal things that I do, all come from her. So acknowledge your ancestors and love on them. So again, follow us there. You can follow me at _Kimberly M. Knight over on Instagram, also here on Facebook. And I hope everyone has a great evening. Have a good night, everyone. Say bye-bye.
Right.
Have a great night, everyone. Yes.